My name is Jerry Wise. I'm a therapist in Carmel, Indiana, and this video is entitled The Basics of Self-Differentiation. I've had a number of people ask me if I would do a series of videos on family systems concepts from a family systems approach or a Murray-Bowen family systems approach. Murray-Bowen was the grandfather of family therapy, and to help them understand more about those concepts so that they could use those in their recovery and growth and in improving their marriages and their relationships. This video, entitled The Basics of Self-Differentiation, is about one of the primary building blocks of family systems thinking, which is the concept of self-differentiation. The concept in which we are connected to others, and our goal and our work is to balance the two forces of togetherness and separateness, and holding that balance very delicately so that we can maintain a connectedness with others while truly being ourselves. And that's what this video is about. I'd like to take a picture of and show you a mobile, or a mobile, depending upon how you say it. I'm not an art teacher, and I know there's a right way to say that. But this is an artwork design in which everyone is connected with different strings. And I think commonly folks use the example of if you touch one person, it causes everyone else to move and shift. And I believe that's the best concept of family systems understanding of relationships. In other words, we're always connected. We always have strings connected to one another in our family of origin and also our current relationships and our nuclear families, our spouses, our children, and that those ties continue throughout our life. And so building self-esteem, or as we call self-differentiation, within this system in which we're all connected, we learn to be ourselves while still having all of these strings attached to us. The other way of thinking, which we have commonly grown up with, is more of the stovepipe understanding of our own sense of self. In other words, we're all individuals that are compact, separate from one another, and we live within this stovepipe, but yet we interact with one another and don't really have a lot of connection internally with one another, only but through our thinking and our words. But there's not really a collective emotional field or a collective connection between everyone. And really in family systems thinking, there is. And that imprinting, not only imprinting, but that continual connection happens throughout our lives. In fact, there was one author who said, a man is and will for the rest of his life have an internal dialogue with his mother. And I think that's true for men or women or for mothers or fathers. And that continual dialogue, that continual presence within us from our earliest relationships is really what relationships are built upon. And if we understand that, then we have a better chance, and I also think a clearer way to build self-esteem. And self-esteem in a family systems understanding is self-differentiation. In other words, this whole mobile of all of our relationships in which we're all connected is very important to us. And so what we want to do is learn to differentiate ourselves while acknowledging the connectedness of all of these people within us. And I think that's not always easy to do, but it's very rewarding and very powerful and brings about significant change within our lives. So, what is self-differentiation? It is self-esteem within the relationship system. Learning to grow your sense of self while being connected to that whole mobile of relationships. We acknowledge that mobile exists and it works at all the time. And I think the family is always within us. Our significant relationships are always within us. And we're always doing an interplay with those relationships. So what does not self-differentiation look like? What does unself-differentiation look like? It looks like this, and I think you will identify some of these things. We engage in cutoffs from other people because we can't stand the connectedness that's in that mobile. We can't deal with it, so we try to cut off from relationships. It can include a lot of reactivity in relationships. It can include different ways in which people in that mobile connect to one another, called triangles. It can be experienced through codependency and counterdependency, unhealthy relationships in which we gravitate towards unhealthy relationships, and family of origin reactivity, whether becoming our anti-family, I'm not going to be them, or anger or depression or cut off with our family of origin, or even fusion with our family of origin. That we lose our sense of self and maintain that lost sense of self with our family of origin. So self-differentiation equals something very important, and that is acknowledging the mobile, that we're all connected, so there's a connectedness force that's at work, while at the same time acknowledging the distinction and difference from us from everyone else. So those two forces are togetherness and separateness. And self-differentiation is learning to live a balance of the two, both separateness and togetherness, and holding those two in a healthy balance. And often when we lose that balance, when those scales get out of whack, because one gets heavier than the other, then that creates codependency, reactivity, triangles, fusion, all kinds of things. So learning to maintain that balance is a part of growing in self-differentiation. And self-differentiation is resisting all of those forces to get us off that balance. And I think understanding that balance is real important, because that can also help you in what healthy relationships should be, learning to grow up, learning to have a relationship that really does have a good balance of togetherness and separateness. I mean, that's a wonderful, simple ideal. Certainly simple, but not easy. But I think it's certainly learnable, and it is an important goal, and there are many ways that can help us get there. So what does self-differentiation look like? Self-differentiation is the way we relate in a relationship system, which includes being able to affirm yourself without cut off, too much distance, or fusion, which is too much closeness. In other words, we maintain a healthy mobile where we're really ourselves while understanding we have all of these strings that are connected to us. And we don't live in denial that those strings don't exist. Nor do we live in denial that we don't exist and that our own sense of self is not important. That all that matters is everyone else in the mobile, and all of those strings is all that matters. No, there's also us as a part of that mobile too. Self-differentiation is a way of being able to affirm yourself without cutoff or fusion. It resists emotional triangles, getting caught up with other people to deal with feelings and issues and resentment and anger in indirect ways. It involves giving up the illusions about others, about our family of origin, about our present relationships, because we can have an awful lot of investment in wanting our parents or our families to meet certain needs that maybe they didn't, and we expect that as an adult, and the same is true in our relationships. We want our spouse to meet childhood needs that were never met. Well, those are some illusions, and those are some illusions that really cause lots of problems. Self-differentiation also involves living a life that resists blame, shame, or the focus of trying to change others so that you feel better. And this really creates difficulties because often self-differentiation, growing in self-differentiation means increasing the focus on yourself rather than focusing on everyone else and trying to get them changed or get them better so that you feel better. Self-differentiation is a systems understanding of the self, and it's more than just self-esteem or self-image. It involves looking at ourselves within a relationship system, seeing our relationships as organisms, and not just, as they say in the business circles, seeing ourselves as stovepipes, that we're all within stovepipes in our own little worlds, and that we really don't connect organically, or organic type of way. We really are in a mobile kind of situation versus believing those strings don't really exist. We are living as people in a mobile of systems that involves our family of origin and our current relationships now. I wanted to begin to at least talk about the concept of self-differentiation today. There's more to talk about, and there's lots involved in that can bring about a lot of change in codependency and counterdependency and marriages and parenting, because I think it's a very, very healing and dynamic approach to recovery. Some of the books, there's not many, but some of the books written on this approach would include Harriet Goldher Lerner's books, The Dance of Anger, The Dance of Intimacy, The Dance of Connection, because she talks about life as a dance, because she also views relationships as a mobile. In other words, it's a dance that we're all doing within that mobile. And that if we acknowledge that, we certainly can do a lot better changing and growing if we understand that. So those are some books that might be helpful to read. I want to thank you for listening today. This is Jerry Wise. We have more videos. You can call me at 317-919-6264. And I want to thank you for listening today. Have a great day.